Greetings, my excellent friend.
Welcome to the Heavy Metal History Report.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to this special bonus episode. Today, I got the chance to talk to Marty Friedman for a very, very short amount of time. I was hoping to get longer, but yeah, it was just 15 minutes. That's all I had. I tried to make it as good and succinct as possible. I think I pulled it off. The good news is it seems like Marty's interested in coming back on the podcast eventually. So the good thing is with that too, I have a Megadeth record that he worked on that I probably will talk to him about, celebrating a 25th anniversary. If you've been following the history episodes, I'm doing 1994 this year. I would also love to pick his brain about the Cacophony records that I covered already, as well as working with Jason Becker on the new album. But I didn't have the time. Basically, we just really talked about his guitar playing, what it means for him to play guitar, his live shows. He's currently on tour right now. I caught him at the airport in between flights, getting ready to go to the next gig, and he was gracious enough to give me a little bit of his time. So hope you enjoy that. If you're checking out this podcast for the first time, please go check out my other episodes. I'd really appreciate it. I kind of do like a little history thing where I go through the years and dissect all the records that come out. Sometimes I have musicians on to talk about those records. Other times I just give you all the information. If you've been listening, well, you already know that. Anyways, I just wanted to put this out as a little bonus episode because I don't think it's worth waiting a whole week and making it a full episode or holding it back. There's no point to hold it back. So with that, 15 minutes of me talking to Marty Friedman. How fucking cool is that? It was cool for me. I was a little nervous, to be honest, and I usually don't get nervous, but Marty's such a legend and damn good guitar player. So if you're out there and you're, going to his shows, fucking enjoy it, because it's going to be a hell of a show. And here we go, Marty Friedman. Hey, Marty, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing, man? Ready to do this?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know we're on limited time here, so thank you, first of all, for doing this.
Thanks for making it happen, man.
Of course. So, yeah, man, let's just get into it. I know you're on tour right now, and you're kind of like, I guess, promoting your live album, but not promoting it. What are you doing, like, as far as that?
Well, anytime you go on tour, you're promoting whatever the recent thing is, but we're basically on tour continuing the Wall of Sound tour that I started last year, and put out a live album in between, and we're like 6 shows in right now and making it across the country and just having an absolute blast, loving it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been seeing videos pop up here and there, and I'm just like, man, how does it ever, just not get old? You've been doing this for so long, and you still seem to have like this enthusiasm and passion for, playing live, and it comes across.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. So the one thing I actually really want to talk about too is your guitar playing. You have this style that is pretty unique, and one thing that I notice and my friends always kind of notice are like your string bends. They sound so different than every other guitarist. It's like you can just hear you bend on one note and just like immediately know it's you, at least in my opinion.
Well, thank you very much. It's a nice thing. I don't really know how or why that happened. I think that any musician, not just guitar, but any musician that plays professionally has a subconscious choice of what notes to play and how to play them, how to shape them, and how to put those notes out and how to choose them, and all those subliminal decisions equals every single person's playing style, and I think it's a sum of all of those points that every single person has their own identity. And I think from what you said, maybe mine stands out because the choices I make might be kind of weird, but it's not really something that I've completely tried to do. I think everyone subliminally does the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like this distillation process of all that you've learned and kind of picked up over the years, and it makes a whole new unique style that, you know, comes across in your playing and songwriting. And I think that's one thing with guitar players that, you know, like you were saying, no matter what style of music you're playing, if you're just really listening to how somebody's playing, you can pick out their style like pretty easily, and it just comes down to how everybody learns stuff across the board.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good word that you use, distilled.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot of not only musical experiences, but life experiences that get kind of distilled and concentrated and come out through your playing. And I think the more you play, the more your instrument becomes an extension of you. You know what I mean? When you're just starting to play, you can't really say what you're trying to say musically.
Mm-hmm.
But after you know, make a first recording, and then you make an album, and then you make 2 albums, and you're on tour, and all of those experiences allow you to express yourself on your instrument with more authority. And so I've been like playing forever, so expressing myself on my instrument is really like brushing my teeth or talking, you know. So I can express myself on the instrument better than talking. It's much more comfortable for me. So I think whatever you're hearing when I play is pretty much exactly the feeling I want to get across.
So you're using like a little bit of emotion in there as well, just to kind of like get the sound out that you're hearing in your head.
A lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just, it's kind of relief, you know, stress relief. If I'm having a really busy, crazy day and I'm just totally wigged out, when I'm playing, I notice that I'm telling myself, this is healing me, this is making me feel better, and I'm just really sinking into the notes, you know, especially when I'm playing ballads. I notice that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think, you know, that's a part of the music, maybe not just heavy metal in general, but a lot of music is, you know, a lot of people put a lot of emotion into it, and I think people forget that aspect of it, that, you know, it comes from within the artist itself, and for them to like be on stage and be vulnerable and share it with all these people, you know, it's kind of a more personal thing, especially when you're going to see them live on a stage. You know, you're connected all in the same area, trying to experience the same thing.
That's a very good point. And I'd like to even make that further, is every live person who's going to the concert is going there because they want to receive these certain energy impulses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also exactly the same when I'm playing. I want to get these impulses, and I want to get these feelings that I can only get when I'm expressing myself on the guitar. So what you're getting as you watch me play that is me kind of feeding myself without sounding too much like a hippie. It's just really a cathartic experience and a definite energy exchange of energy. And we have so much energy when we're playing. My band is like just literally on fire. There's no way you can escape getting some energy from all 4 of us. But when you're watching me play melodies, for example, I'm really just trying to heal myself, and you're actually watching that happen. And I've been healed by so many other people's music. You know, when you're having a really hard time, you know, sometimes like travel schedules and business gets so incredibly mind-bogglingly insane that the only way you can really feel better is listening to some of your favorite music. And so I've enjoyed other people's music in that way so much that I think that's really my goal. If I can make people feel better, you know, feeling better is not just like Enya and shit like that. You can feel better listening to Cannibal Corpse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get that kind of it's almost like a high from music that I'm trying to not only get myself, but give everybody. And hopefully that's what people are getting when they come see us.
Yeah, that's something I usually start off with asking people, is like, what's the music that like really resonates with you, or like influences you, that makes you go, oh man, this is why I like listening to music, or, you know, this calms me down, or this puts me in this mood. Like, what are some of those bands or artists that you enjoy, not necessarily heavy metal, that like really resonates with you on a personal level?
You know, it's funny. It's not necessarily a particular artist or particular band, but sometimes it's just like a small passage of a piece of music. Like, how did they think of to do this melody over this chord, over this beat? This is just so cool that you want to just rewind that one little part. And this is just such a wonderful moment that these guys made, you know, whether they did it intentionally or by mistake or just happened or whatever. There's so many moments in music in all genres. It's the moments that get me. It's not necessarily the artist, but just sometimes people land on something that's so friggin' cool that it kind of restores your faith in humanity. It's so cool.
So with you then, when you're like composing a song, is that something that kind of runs through your head of like, oh, how can I make this moment so that when somebody hears this, like, how are they going to like feel about it when they hear it? Are they going to rewind it?
That is the absolute top priority. And of course, when it's your own music, you're a kind of different kind of judge, you know, because it's like hearing your own voice on the voicemail. It sounds like shit. So I'm such a judge, but I try to be objective and listen to my own stuff. And I know when I'm getting it. I know when the shit's happening. I know when the orgasm is happening, so to speak. And I know where the good parts are. And now the challenge is to build up to that and get the most out of those good parts. And the longer you play music, the more you can identify that, and you can identify what's just not good or not going to work. And so particularly on my last few records, I've got it to almost a science where there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of cojones on there.
Yeah, and I feel like too, you've been playing and writing music for so long that a lot of it just comes natural for you. You know what sounds you're looking for, but at the same time, you're always trying to like grow and write new stuff as a musician. So like, how do you always like push your boundaries outside of what you normally would do?
I think it's just a natural response. I don't want to repeat anything I did before. I'm not nostalgic. I don't want to look back and say, wow, that was a great album 5 years ago. Let's copy it. I just always have to have something new to say, or else I'll wait until I have something new to say, and then I'll say it. But that's one of the great things about the way my solo careers work. There's never really been any pressure from the record label to do anything in a particular time. I do it on my time, and when I think I have something worthy of, you know, putting out, that's when I do it.
Yeah, and I would have to think that's got to be a lot of creative pressure off you. You're not worried about like album cycles and album tours and all that stuff. It's just like when it's done, and it'll be a better end product.
Right, exactly.
So I wanted to ask one more thing too about your guitar playing. Is you use some really odd scales that it seems like you kind of make them up, I guess, for lack of a better term there. How long did it really take you to kind of move away from traditional scales?
Well, I think I said something like I make up my own scales a million years ago in an instructional video.
Yeah.
And that was probably my mindset. But in reality, it's not scales that are being used ever, in my case anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing passages, and every passage is completely unrelated to any other passage, and they may wind up in something that somebody calls a scale or a sequence of notes. They might not. I think learning a bunch of set scales and thinking about them all the time can be quite restricting.
Yeah.
And I'm just pretty much playing at random. Random as far as scales go, but I know exactly every single note that I'm playing, but I've never classified each one as a particular sequence of notes like a lot of modal players do. I don't know that stuff at all, and I'm really not interested in it. It's not the way I play. It works for a lot of guys in a very, very good way.
Yeah.
But for me, I know every single note. I know when I want to pick this note or that note in this order, and I'm not kind of limited by well, if I'm in this scale, I'm in this key or whatever. Of course, that leads to a lot of accidents, but the majority of the accidents are pretty happy ones. So it's just a different way of playing, I guess.
I think that's one amazing thing about guitar in general is like the endless possibilities you have to play or make something. And it's a very extremely difficult instrument, you know, like all the things you have to learn and memorize. It's just kind of astounding to me. Like I'm an amateur at best, but like I was talking to my friend and he's just like learning what was it, like cage theory or something like that. And he was like, yeah, I didn't know that this even existed, and his mind is blown by that, so now it's opened up a whole new world for him as far as guitar playing.
Yeah, well, you know, any instrument is equally as difficult. You know, it's any instrument is only as good as what you put into it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you devote your energy and your life to a saxophone, it's equally as much devotion as guitar.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's all the same, and it's all endless, like you say, and all capable of transmitting the emotions that you feel. You know, at the beginning when you're a kid and you're playing, it's kind of just fun to rock out, and you must never forget that. But when you have years under your belt and you've been in so many situations playing music, what's really fun is you can really get your emotions out, you know, clearly. You can really make the notes cry. You can really make the notes laugh. You can make them sing. You make them fuck. You can make them do anything. And that's one of the joys about being a lifer. But you must also never forget that feeling of beating the shit out of your guitar and just making noise. And I like to have a big dose of that in our concerts, you know, and I never forget that feeling of what makes you want to pick up an instrument, you know?
Yeah. You know, I think especially with your live shows, it seems like you have this extremely good ability to like slightly improvise live too, like the way you work your songs into each other, or like kind of go out and like with the song Ripped Medley on the live album, you kind of go into Queen's We Are the Champions and just go right back into another song. And like, man, how do you just, you know, do you go in with a set list, or are you just kind of freestyling it every night?
We go in with the set list, but we
Okay.
do a lot of freestyling, and we know everything. We know pretty much my whole catalog, and we can improvise, and we change things on the fly a lot. So I like to keep things, you know, really fresh, and so people can come to more than one show and get a different experience. But listen, my brother, I got to go and catch
Okay.
a flight. I'm in the airport right now, and they're calling me, and I really appreciate talking to you. You seem like you really know what you're talking about. I'd love to keep talking to you.
Absolutely, man. If we get a chance to hook up again, I definitely have some stuff I would love to talk to you about again.
Yeah, set it up. I'd be happy to do it.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, have a good
Great.
flight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Talk later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Be excellent to each other and